Great. Welcome, everybody. I think we will need to speak up a bit louder today here, making this maybe the most dramatic entrance of any of our topics in the Swedish Pavilion. The Swedish Pavilion is a place where talks goes to action, where we meet for climate matchmaking and networking. The next session, just to make sure that you are at the right place, will be the power of reforestation. I'm very pleased to soon hand over the stage here to Rolf Björheden, who is Professor Emeritus in Forest Technology. Björn has extensive experience and works in the intersection between climate and forestry. And also you have, Rolf, quite good experience from Brazil. He will, or you will, Rolf, shed some lights on good examples from Sweden and Swedish initiatives on reforestation and how they have impacted the Swedish carbon footprint. You will also you have brought your crystal ball, right, to share a little bit about good opportunities globally when it comes to reforestation. So let's give Rolf a warm hand. And we're much looking forward to this section.
Yeah, okay. What can you do after such an introduction? I really hope that I can live up to the high expectations that you set. I'll certainly do my very best. And if anyone should feel a little bit sleepy, we have a free shower here. You can go in there and refresh yourself without leaving the venue. So it's a really fantastic opportunity. Now, I'm actually I'm going to give you a story. It's a little bit like a fairy tale, this story. And it starts about 100 years ago in Sweden. On the top picture there, the black and white, that is how the south of Sweden looked 100 and 150 years ago. That is the most densely populated part of the country, and the forests were depleted. What was left was beautiful but rather barren and unproductive Kelowna heaths. We have that kind of development and land use history all over the world. But anyway, in the middle of the 1800s, in the north of Sweden, where we still had forests, people started to export forest products. And the people in the south were over 1 million of the people living there emigrated to the US and even some to Brazil eventually. They said that we need to replant, to reforest the south of Sweden so that we can also start making some money out of forest products. So they started, what you see there is actually a school class of young children who were out planting in 1922. And this is the same area today. This is the same area today. In Sweden, this transition takes 60 to 80 years. In most countries in the tropical world, you can do the same journey in 5 to 10, maybe 15 years. So actually, you're in a good position. So let's see this area now. If we compare the figures for 1920 to 2020, we can see that by planting, we have increased the forest area by 300%. So we have 3 times more forest now than we had 100 years ago. If we look at the forest yield, that is how much it grows every year, we have increased that by 400%. So every hectare, it grows 400% better than 4 times better than it did 100 years ago. If we look at the inventory, that is the standing volume, it's 8 times more wood per hectare today compared to 1920. And finally, which is almost incredible, if we look at how much we can harvest every year, we can harvest 16 times more biomass today than we could 100 years ago. This is an incredible journey, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. You can do this again and again. Here in Brazil, you have some really good examples of depleted areas where eucalypts have been planted and that are now contributing in a great way. So this, of course, this very big change, it transformed the South Swedish economy. People they didn't have to emigrate to Brazil or the US. They could find their livelihood at home. And forestry became the backbone, you can almost say, of the Swedish economy. And of course, this was not done to do anything about climate change, but forestry also has very many climate advantages. And I would like to take you through that little, through that part of this. But this was done just because people wanted to make money and they wanted to improve their livelihood. And I think that is something that is really important for us to think about even today. If we try to do a lot of projects that are not really contributing to local inhabitants and their livelihood, I think that we are working in a very steep uphill slope. So let's try to find projects that will also improve the local conditions for the people living there. So that is important. Okay. Anyway, if we look at Swedish figures instead, we have more than doubled the forest inventory in Sweden as a whole, counting both North and South Sweden. This increase of wood, it is the same as it has absorbed 60 times the annual emissions from that we have today at current level in Sweden. So 60 years just by the inventory increase. And in the same period, we have also harvested 5 billion cubic meters. And still we have doubled the inventory today. So we started with 1 biscuit. Today we have 2 biscuits, even though we have eaten 3 biscuits in the journey. It's a fantastic story. Looking at the area. Okay, I'll keep it even closer then. Looking at the area that is available globally. If you want to do this journey that we have done in Sweden, we're talking about maybe 900 million hectares. That's a very big area. This was concluded in a study made in 2019. I had nothing to do with that study. Anyway, if all those 900 million hectares were planted with these little green, humble plants, they would absorb around 21 gigatons of carbon. That is 2/3 of the total carbon dioxide burden for the world. Some researchers, of course, come to other conclusions. There are some who say, no, you can't plant 900 million hectares. There is so much land risk, uncertainty, and places where we don't really know what to do. So maybe half. Still, that's 1/3 of the carbon burden. And it's accessible right now. My grandfather knew how to plant trees. I know how to plant trees. And I'm sure that in your respective countries, you have lots of people who know how to plant trees. It's the simplest of things. And it's easy to get people doing it if they know that in a few years, I will be able to harvest this, use it for building my home, or maybe selling it to the local sawmill and earning some money. So it's really something that we need to do. And I think that even if we look at the pessimistic view, that only 1/3 of the carbon burden could be depleted in this way, it's really fantastic. We don't have to do any research. We don't have to learn anything new. We only have to do what these people did 100 years ago in Sweden. And you will do it much faster and much better than we did. Okay. So talking about global reforestation, I think that this is something that is definitely within reach. Unfortunately, very few countries have committed to doing this. Most of this land bank is available in countries like Russia, which today have other things on their mind, but also in China. China are actually doing quite a lot. Brazil has a lot. US, Canada. So there are some countries who could step up and do much more. But almost, and in Africa, we have lots of opportunities to plant depleted grazing grounds. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the climate benefits of forestry. First of all, I would like to explain how does forests and climate, how they are bound together. Carbon, we often talk about it like some kind of poison. It's not a poison. It's very important. It's actually called the atom of life. It's in all living creatures. So if we look at the biosphere, there is carbon in the living organisms, in the soil, in the sediments, and in the atmosphere. And if you increase somewhere, it will decrease in some of the other two pools. So it's an equilibrium. But we have put that mechanism and that equilibrium out of play because we are adding fossil carbon into the system. And that means that we are increasing all the time the amount of carbon that is in the biosphere. And that is what is creating the problem with climate change. So what can we do? Yeah, we can do, as we discussed earlier, we can do like the Swedes did 100 years ago. We plant a lot of forest. And if we plant a lot of forest, it will take up maybe 1/3 or up to 2/3 of the carbon burden. But when that burden has been lifted away, we will still be emitting a lot of carbon, fossil carbon. So I think it's not enough for us to only plant forests. We must also have a plan for using that biomass. That is our responsibility towards our children. We must use this biomass in a clever way so that we turn off the influx of fossil carbon. And that we can do by using it and substituting fossil feedstocks with bio-based feedstocks. If we add this element of using biomass, it means that we perpetuate the climate benefits of forests. If we only store forests, we can do that once. We can build up the forest, the carbon storage, and when we reach that, it's just a climate neutral storage. But if we start harvesting instead, taking out this carbon that has been absorbed by the forest and using that instead of using fossil feedstocks, then we're actually doing something about the problem that is causing, oh my God. No, I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth. I'm not sure if you hear me at all. Up here, it's just crazy right now. Okay, so this, to take away carbon from the atmosphere, to store it in growing forests, and also to use it to substitute fossil feedstocks. Those are the three main benefits. There is a fourth benefit, and that is that if you do this in a clever way, you will boost the local economy. And if you boost the local economy, so people become forest guardians, taking care of the forest, planting forest, and cutting down forest, it means that they will actually look at this as a positive thing, and they will do like in Sweden. They will see that this is the backbone of their economy, and it's climate positive to do that. So if we really want to maximize the climate benefits of forest products, what do we need to do? People talk a lot about durable forest products like industrial wooden house building and so on, because they said that means that we lock the carbon in for a long, long time. Actually, the volumes, they are not so big, but it's true. But we must not forget the short-lived products. I did a study based on the official statistics in Sweden, how much we collect of products, how much we recycle and use in new products and so on. And when you do the maths on that, you can see that the first generation products, you for each cubic meter of wood that we use, in average, we stop 0.8 tons of carbon dioxide from being emitted, fossil carbon dioxide. But if we recycle this, we double the substitution effect and we double the benefit. So by recycling, and the recycling is mainly done in paper. Ännu högre, okay. I'll talk even higher. Oh my God. I'm not responsible for bursting any eardrums, folks. No, so basically, just summing up then, if we want to, this is something that we can easily do. We don't need a lot of money. We don't need a lot of new knowledge. We only need hands, willing hands, and plants. He doesn't agree with me. I don't know. It should come from down there, I think, not up there. Okay. I think that actually we see that this cascading use, to use the biomass time and time again, that's it, extremely important. It means that you more than double the climate value of every cubic meter. So what we're doing in a lot of countries today, that we're using the after the useful life, we burn the products and retrieve the energy. It's good, but if you can use it for cardboard making and so on, maybe a few generations. Only if you can do just one regeneration, you double the effect.